at this point, Booker T was more on the comedic side, whereas in WCW, he was more of a badass. He was kicking ass, he was talking shit, and that's the Booker T that I liked, you know what I mean? Booker T almost seems like the love child of Mr. T and Half Dead from Penitentiary 2, if any of y'all seen Penitentiary 2. But yeah, A&E's biography, Legends, WWE Wrestlers series, goddamn. So I reviewed Stone Cold before, and then Macho Man Randy Savage, and honestly, I was not looking forward to Booker T. Like, I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I hated WCW. During the Monday Night Wars, I was always team WWE. I was team Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker, all those guys. Fuck WCW. To me, WCW was always trash. Outside of Flair, Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors, and Harlem Heat, and of course Goldberg near the end, WCW was trash. I hated them. I did. Even during the NWO time, I thought it was corny. You know, the whole Hogan going heel, you know, it got a lot of ratings and everything. People loved it, but I wasn't a fan. I didn't buy it. You know, to me, WCW was like an outdated version of wrestling. You know, it took all the old timers from the 80s from WWF and tried to bring it into the 90s, but, you know, we needed fresh meat. So if I did tune into WCW, it was to watch Harlem Heat. It was to watch Goldberg or even the Steiner, you know, Scott Steiner. You know what I'm saying? There were some wrestlers in WCW that I did like, and Booker T was one of them. So I was a fan of Harlem Heat. You know, and then when Booker T went singles, I thought he was dope. I thought he was a dope wrestler. He cut great promos, very athletic. You know what I mean? But still, I was on the other side. You know, so even when Vince McMahon bought WCW and he came to WWF, I still wasn't really a fan. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they at this point, Booker T was more on the comedic side, whereas in WCW, he was more of a badass. He was kicking ass, he was talking shit, and that's the Booker T that I liked, you know what I mean? So by the time he had the WWF and Stone Cold was beating his ass in the supermarket, by then I was like, eh. But y'all, look here. This documentary really made me a fan of his, you know what I'm saying? Because we get to learn the man, we learn his story, and unlike Savage and Piper, where they're not here to defend themselves or, you know, speak on their behalves, Booker T was able to tell his whole life story. But to see where this man came from, wow, man, losing his mother at 13, him and his sister fending for themselves as kids, and he pretty much had to raise himself from 13 on, you know, going to jail and, you know, coming out and redeeming himself. Now, you have some people that if they would have saw Booker T at, say, 15, 16 years old, they would have said, oh, he's a criminal, he's a thug. Oh, you know, he's not going to make it, you know, no father in the home. I think you know who I'm talking about. No father in the home and all that stuff. But he is the exception of somebody that could turn their life around and become one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world. You know, he didn't even have any aspirations of being a wrestler. He just knew he wanted to be somebody. And then his big brother, Stevie Ray, was like, let's go to this wrestling school, ran by Ivan Putski. They did it. They were naturals. And the rest, as they say, is history. They had to deal with racism in the wrestling industry, of course. And he climbed his way up to the top and became one of the biggest stars. You know, him and Stevie Ray. But of course, you know, he became a bigger star than his brother. But still, you know, respect to Stevie Ray, they were still Harlem Heat, you know, one of the best tag teams ever. Now let's address the elephant in the room here, the black pro wrestler. There is a handful of them that actually were very successful and didn't become jobbers. Okay, so back in the day, you had Bobo Brazil, who I just heard about. You had JYD, who was really over. But I think what stopped JYD was JYD, to be honest with you, because of the drugs and everything. He just didn't really, you know, he didn't really have that drive to be the best, you know what I'm saying, even though he was over. You had Tony Atlas, you had Rocky Johnson. You had these guys that were stars in their own right, but never got to superstardom. So now you fast forward to the 90s, and I can't forget Coco Beware and Special Delivery Jones, who were kind of over with the fans, but these guys were jobbers. These were lower tier wrestlers who would lose to the top stars, okay? So now the 90s come along, you have Ron Simmons, the first black champion, you know what I mean? Then you got Ahmed Johnson for the WWF, you know, who people talk shit about, but yo, he was over. Ahmed Johnson was that guy. Then you got Booker T, then you got The Rock, you know, and then later on you got Mark Henry, and then later on now, fast forward years later, you have Kofi Kingston, I think that's his name. So Booker T belongs to that class of black wrestlers who really were over and really became superstars, and you got to put him near the top of that list. You know, I think as far as black wrestlers that were the most over, I gotta say him and JYD. You know what I'm saying? Because I think him and JYD had the biggest pop. Well, The Rock, you know, I'm gonna throw The Rock in there. The Rock is black. Fuck it. His daddy was black. His mama was Polynesian, so The Rock is black. So yeah, The Rock is the biggest black star ever. You know, but I'll put Booker T up in there too. You know. So this documentary was very inspiring and very, you know, who doesn't love an underdog story? This was an underdog story that really moved me, you know, like the Steve Austin one did. But this one moved me even more because this is somebody that looks like me. This is somebody that I can really relate to because I know the struggle of a black man growing up, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I didn't come from his same circumstances, but I can relate to some of the things that he went through. So, yeah, y'all, I recommend checking this documentary out, and much respect to Booker T. Like I said, even though I really wasn't the biggest fan of his, I was more team WWF, but if you're talking about the WCW, he's up there, you know, with the Goldbergs and Ron Simmons and, you know, all those guys, you know what I mean? So, yeah, check this documentary out, and if you have, what you think about it, comment freely below. Let me know what you thought. If you like and dig this content, hit that like and subscribe notification bell in the corner. This is Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.